Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently studying the scripture Mysticism of Ramayana. Commentaries by my Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda ji, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently on Kishkinda Kand and we were covering Sugriva organizing the army of monkeys and bears. In response to King Sugriva's command, the monkeys and bears set out in different directions to begin their search. Sugriva then called his best generals, Hanuman, Angad, Neel, and others, and directed them to head towards the south. Since that was the direction in which Ravana flew with Sita, that was where she would most likely be found. Before they left, Rama blessed Hanuman and gave him his ring to show to Sita as proof that he was Rama's messenger. When you meet Sita, said Rama, try to console her. Tell her about my strength and my immense love for her, and then return quickly. Feeling himself so privileged to have received Rama's trust in this manner, Hanuman proceeded onwards, keeping Rama in his heart. Swayam Prabha aids the mission. So in the course of their travel southward, the army led by Hanuman and Angada became exceedingly thirsty. Fearing they might die of thirst, Hanuman climbed a mountain in order to look around for water. From a distance he saw a place where birds were flying around and sporting, so he presumed there must be water. After further exploration, they entered into a cavern-like hole in the earth and found themselves at a beautiful hermitage of a lady saint seated in meditation. After the monkeys bathed and ate delicious fruits, the saint said to them, "You have to go to the banks of the ocean to learn more about Sita. Since it is a long distance and time is short, I will help you to get there. Just close your eyes and do not peek." So they did as they were told, and when they opened their eyes, they found themselves by the sea. Within the twinkling of an eye, they had transported there by the power of the saint. After having transported the monkeys to their destination, Swayam Prabha used her yogic powers and presented herself before Rama. With his blessings, she then went to a sacred shrine in the Himalayas to practice perpetual austerity and meditation. Swayam Prabha literally means self-effulgent and implies an act of special divine grace that adds an aspirant aids him to accelerate his spiritual movement. It would have taken a long time for the monkey army to reach the ocean, but with the help of Swayam Prabha, they reached it within the twinkling of an eye. Back at the seashore, the monkeys looked out over the ocean and became distressed. 1 month had nearly passed and still they had not accomplished their mission. If they were to return without any news of Sita, Sugriva would surely behead them as he had promised. What they thought should they do next? The vulture, Sampatti. While these monkeys and bears were conversing among themselves, an old vulture who resided on a nearby mountain came out of his cavern declaring, "Today God has given me a wonderful feast. I have been starving for food, and now I have before me all these monkeys to devour one after the other." Hearing these words of the vulture, the monkeys and bears, who were already in a state of despair, became even more despondent and fearful. But then Jambavan, the wise old leader of the bears, loudly said, "There isn't anyone more blessed than Jatayu the vulture. He renounced his body for the sake of Rama and thus attained the highest state." The moment this old vulture, whose name was Sampati, heard about Jatayu, his mind became agitated and he approached the monkeys and bears. Assuming them that he now meant them no harm, Sampati then began to ask for more information about Jatayu, his younger brother. So that was the wisdom of Jamavantji, the bear, who purposely said that because he wanted to invoke that feelings in Sampati, and then knowing that he was the younger brother, Sampati instantly wanted to know more about how his elder brother Jatayu passed away. Sampati then heard the story of Jatayu's attempt to rescue Sita and how he died enjoying the blessings of Rama. So, what a beautiful, beautiful departure from this body. Even though he was in a bird body, he attained enlightenment by Rama's touch. Eager to perform a water ritual for the departed soul of his brother, which is called Tarpan, Shraddha, Sampati then asked the monkeys to carry him to the ocean shore, since he had not done any feathers with which he could fly. So basically, his feathers were all burnt up, Sampati's feathers. In exchange, Sampati promised to give them valuable assistance in locating Sita. So see how the divine plan works. All these instances slowly open and guide an aspirant on his journey. After the rituals were performed, Sampati related the story about how he had lost his feathers many years before. Sampati explained how once he and Jatayu were young and full of energy, they decided to fly up to the sun just for the sake of sport. They flew higher and higher until they came close to the orb of the sun and felt its intense heat. Jatayu accepted defeat and flew back, but Sampati did not. He continued flying until his wings were terribly injured and all his feathers were burnt up, and then he fell to earth shrieking in pain. By good fortune, he fell in a place where there dwelt a sage known as Chandrama. Chandrama told him to remain on that mountain until Treta Yuga, when the divine self was incarnate in the form of Lord Rama. That Rama would send monkeys and bears in search of Sita, his kidnapped wife. By beholding those servants of Rama, Sampati would become purified, his wings would be healed, and feathers would emerge again. Thus the old vulture had been waiting all this time to see the monkeys and bears in order to regain his ability to fly. As the sage had foretold, Sampati began to grow new feathers in a miraculous manner the moment he entered into the ocean in the presence of the monkeys and bears. With his heart filled with gratitude, the old vulture then spoke words that lifted the spirits of the despondent monkeys. He told them that beyond the ocean there was an island known as Lanka, and in that Lanka there was a mountain known as Trikuta, and on that mountain there was the palace of Ravana, and in the Ashoka grove of that palace there lived Sita. I can see Sita right from here, Sampati told the monkeys. Even though I am old, my vulture eyesight is very sharp, and I can see things that you cannot. She is seated under a tree, waiting to be reunited with Rama. Whoever among you is able to cross this ocean, which extends for 800 miles, will be able to find her. Thus saying, Sampati flew away with his newly feathered wings, leaving the monkeys and bears filled with renewed hope that Rama's mission would indeed be accomplished. So we will cover more in the mystical meaning of this Sampati, his getting the wings, and his guiding the monkey army in tomorrow's satsang. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.